Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to Gamerjoob, and welcome back to our Poppy Playtime character concept series. So in today's video, the character we're looking into is known as Toullie. So we'll go into this character's backstory, gameplay mechanics, and all that good stuff as well. But before doing any of that, do be sure to leave a like and subscribe to Gamerjoob as it helps a lot and it's greatly appreciated. And lastly, just a small disclaimer, this is not actually what will happen in Chapter 4, this is just a fan-made story, so keep that in mind and enjoy the video. But alrighty, with that all out of the way, let's get into the character concept for Toullie. So previously in our Poppy Playtime character concept series, our main protagonist has met the majority of the members from the Nightmare Critters. Each evil critter tried to stop the player, but in the end they got away safely. Now they find themselves once again making their way through the factory. They just got through the hidden library and now find themselves in a completely different area. It looks to be the garbage disposal area. Every piece of trash and waste make their way through this facility, and the player hopes that garbage is all they'll find. But odds are, there's another critter waiting for them amongst all the trash. Will they be a friend or foe? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Speaking of a new nightmare critter, let's meet them now. So the next critter is known as Toullie. This little rat sure does love trash. Everyone knows because he won't stop talking about it. Toullie, it's pronounced 2E, is a self-proclaimed trash rodent. When he's not busy eating and collecting garbage, he's a lively conversationalist. He talks a lot, which is made all the more surprising by him having shockingly little to say. If you ever need someone to provide insightful commentary on some random piece of junk, Toullie is your guy. Sent Petrichor. So as we just read in his bio, Toullie is quite the expert on trash. And here at the waste disposal facility, he felt right at home. With so many new things to see and learn, he couldn't get enough of this place. It seems like every day there was always something for him to tinker with and make use of. Also, food was never an issue. Toullie always has an endless supply of food whenever he needs it. This place was essentially a paradise according to him. All the other critters never really saw the big deal with trash. No matter how many times he would show the others a new thing he's found, they never really cared. All Toullie wanted was someone to appreciate all the neat stuff that he has. And ever since all the workers disappeared, he was the only one who cared. But that never stopped Toullie's passion for trash. He continues to discover new and exciting items to this day. Also, Toullie was quite handy when it came to making things. He'd make all sorts of contraptions with the items that he scavenged. Each thing he made would make his life a little easier here at the waste facility. And he always hoped that one day someone would appreciate all this hard work. But until that day arrives, he'll just keep doing what he does best. So now we return back to the player. They've just entered the waste management facility and are trying to find their way forward. Everywhere they look, all they can see is trash. Just piles and piles of useless items that nobody wants anymore. And with a factory this large, it produces its fair share of waste. Also, it would be fairly easy for someone to get lost amongst all this garbage. And the smell wasn't too pleasant either. But regardless, the player needs to keep moving before another twisted toy makes an appearance. As they traverse through all this garbage, they need to be careful of their footing. One wrong step and they could collapse the pile and be buried underneath. And just as they take their next step, they feel the floor give way beneath them. They plummet down below as they fall through all the garbage. Now they're trapped in this deep trash pit. There's nothing they can grab onto to lift themselves out. What are they going to do now? If they can't find a way out, they'll be stuck here for good. As they try to think of a plan, a mysterious character comes to their rescue. They lower a rope and hook down to the player so they can pull themselves to safety. And once they made it out of the hole, they finally see who saved them. It was Toullie. He heard all the commotion and rushed down to see what happened. At first sight, the player wasn't sure if Toullie was another one of these evil nightmare critters. He looked friendly enough, and he did just save them as well. Toullie tells the player to follow him. It isn't very safe out here, and they might fall through the trash again. So with no other option, the player follows this friendly trash rat. Eventually, they both make it to Toullie's makeshift home. The player is quite impressed that this little critter made this all on his own. The player also notices some of the rare items that Toullie has collected, including a limited edition rainbow huggy, an old box of Bron Bites, a rare Poppy playing card, and many more interesting items. The main protagonist hasn't seen these items in years, they must have all been thrown away. Needless to say, they were pretty impressed with all these things. Finally, someone was truly appreciating all the objects that Toullie had collected. He couldn't be happier, and because of this, he wanted to help out the player as much as he could. The player explains to Toullie how they need to get out of this area. All of his nightmare critter friends are out to get them, and they need to get out of here safely. Toullie understands and agrees to help. He tells the player that the only way out of the waste management facility was through the water treatment plant, but unfortunately, this water treatment facility has been totally flooded. The only way to get through that area is to go underwater. But luckily for the player, Toullie has been working on a new project. With all the materials that he's gathered, he managed to construct his very own makeshift submarine. With this submarine, he was planning to dive into the treatment plant to see why it's been flooded. But now it seems like the player needs it much more than Toullie does. So he agrees to let them use it in order to escape. They just need to wheel the submarine down to the water entrance hatch and the player could be on their way. They can't believe that Toullie has the ability to build such a thing. He truly was a talented little critter. So they both load the submarine onto the tracks and wheel it over to the water hatch. As they push the submarine forward, they need to unlock a series of gates and obstacles. If there were any broken switches, Toullie would be able to fix them no problem. Eventually, after making their way through all the obstacles, they reach the entrance to the water treatment plant. Toullie wasn't kidding, this place was completely flooded. The only way they were going to get through this area was with the sub, but hopefully this thing was safe to travel in. Toullie assured them it was totally safe, but there was only one way to find out. The player climbs in and says goodbye to Toullie. He wishes the player all the best and then pushes the submarine into the water. Here goes nothing. Hopefully the player can make it safely through this area. But what waits them in these dark, deep waters is still a mystery, and they'll have to wait and see what's down here with them. Toullie didn't have the heart to tell them, but he knows what's down there. It's the only way forward, but he knows his submarine will keep the player safe. Well, at least he hopes it does. So I think that Toullie would be a great character to see in Chapter 4. It's always great to have a friendly character, and especially one as helpful as Toullie. But as to if we'll meet him in the next chapter is unknown, and until Chapter 4 releases, we'll just have to wait and see. Alrighty everyone, that's all we have for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please consider leaving a like, commenting and subscribing as it helps a lot and it's greatly appreciated. As always, do be sure to let us know what you thought of our version of Toullie and what you'd like to see going forward. Also, do be sure to comment down all your theories on what you think is going to happen in Chapter 4. And lastly, I just want to thank each and every one of you for watching and supporting today's video. We're having so much fun making these new Nightmare Critter character concepts, and we're so glad you're enjoying them as well. And also a very big thank you to all of our Gamerjoob members. But alrighty everyone, until our next Poppy Playtime character concept video, I'll catch you later, bye.